One, figure out what is it that you want to do, and then find a mentor that is doing that. Once you start realizing how much your time is valuable, I don't want to spend a lot of time making mistakes. I want to know what the right way of doing it is right away. I'd rather pay for you to tell me that, and I go and execute and do it right, and I'll be 10 steps ahead.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
And I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we have Satch Bernhardt with us. Satch, we're so glad you're with us. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Richard and Bill, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Satch. Well, to start with, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like we were talking, Bill, which is kind of funny that you're also a pilot, right? So I was an airline pilot for 7 years. I flew for United Express. I started back when I was 21 years old, and being a pilot was a dream of mine since I was a little kid. And I came to the States to do that. I became an airline pilot, and you always hear people talk about a pilot's lifestyle of like you being gone from home and things like that. It just doesn't really, when you want something so bad, you don't care about what people say about the bad things, right? You're like, whatever, man, I'll make it happen. And so surely a couple of years into my airline career, that being on the road lifestyle was starting to take a toll on me. You know, I was not home with my wife. I was missing a lot of like events, Christmas holidays, things like that. So I figured, hey, you know what? If I can find a way to generate income aside from flying, I can probably drop some of my trips and not go to work as much, right? And I love flying. And flying is awesome. So I still want to do it. I'll drop my line value, you know, Bill, like you can drop your trips at an airline and you can only fly a trip or two a month, which will be like 4 days of work, maybe 6 days of work. Right. And that's pretty cool. As long as I don't care about the income for the airline, I can make that happen. And that's what got me started in real estate. So I said, growing up, I was always involved in real estate with my family, and I knew I was going to get back into it in somehow, but I wasn't quite sure how. I discovered through a friend of mine wholesaling houses, right? So I started doing that, and we started doing wholesales and flips in 2018, and I was becoming successful in that space and just started growing my team. And it got to the point that the revenue I was generating in my real estate business was surpassing my airline income. And funny story, some months I will drop my entire trips, everything, like zero. I will go to work, nothing. And I owed money to the airline because they were paying for my insurance. So I had no paycheck coming in from them for them to deduct my portion of the paycheck of the insurance, right? So I had to send them a check a couple of months for them to pay my portion. But, I was perfectly happy with it. I was picking up trips. I was only flying with friends that I wanted to fly with. I did not care that the trip was a loan paying trip. I was like, hey, I just want to go spend some time with my friend at the airline. We'll go to such overnight. It will be fun. And so I was having such a good time. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, our airline shut down. And so at that point on, I was just like, hey, nobody else was hiring at the time. I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to pursue that for now. And I just went even farther into real estate, what I was doing. So I kept growing my team even farther. And what I realized at that point was, a lot of my friends were having a tough time in aviation, right? Because like I said, nobody else was hiring. So that was when I turned my mission and I said, I can probably help via real estate. I can probably help a lot of my pilot friends invest in real estate assets like the ones that I was investing in, and they can be receiving some of that passive income. And that way, next time, whatever happens in real estate, whether that's like another 9/11, 2008, or the pandemic happens, or maybe something internally, right? Maybe a medical condition happens where they can't fly anymore, they will be set, right? They don't have to worry about their income from that point moving forward. And that's what led me to where we are today. I didn't go back to flying. I said, you know what, I'm just going to treat this as my full-time thing. I don't want it to be like a side hustle, and I want it to be fully dedicated to serve other pilots and link that bridge between real estate and aviation.
Right. Well, that's excellent. So your focus today, is it still on the fix and flip, or are you doing other things in real estate?
So we still have that company. I don't do anything on the day-to-day operations in that company. We have 31 employees there, and I fully stepped out of that, and I only check in every once in a while, make sure in meetings and stuff, make sure to see how everything is going. But that's all I do there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what other avenues are you working on the real estate side?
Yeah. So the other thing about what's my full focus right now is strictly as a private equity firm, placing capital in real estate deals with operators.
Okay.
Excellent. Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. So, Satch, as you think back to, maybe your young pilot days or something like that, is there a humorous story that you can share that happened to you along the way?
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you one story. There was one time where we had this fairly new flight attendant, right, flying with us, and we were coming into land, and we call her and say, "Hey, listen, the landing gear is not coming down. We need you to really help us here." And she's like, "Oh yeah, well, what do you want us to do?" And I said, "Go back to row 18, and like we want you to like really like jump and like stomp on the floor on the floor of the plane, right?" And she's like, "What?" It's like drill, like just do it, please. Like sometimes the gear gets stuck, so like with a little bit of like shaking it, like it just drops the gear, right? She goes back there and like jumps on it, and we were sitting through the peephole, right? And comes back and it's like, "Did it work?" It's like, you might have to do a little bit harder, like sometimes it takes like 2 times, right? So she goes back there, and like we're seeing it, and the captain and I were like, "All right, as soon as she does it this time, we're gonna pull the gear down," right? So like, sure, she goes back there, she stomps on the floor, and like we pull the gear, and she gets all excited, like, yeah, we did it. So we never told her it wasn't true, but
it's got to be a great story for it all the layovers from that point forward, how she got the gear down and jumping up and down.
That's right.
That is funny. You hear all kinds of ones like that with, air samples and everything else, collecting the back with little bags.
Yeah. I think the gear one is pretty typical, right? Like I think many people do it.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, what was the kind of a deciding? It sounded like the decision was kind of made for you transitioning after, the pandemic, when it kind of, your employment just kind of ceased to exist. But it sounded like at that point it also was a key point in like your thinking that made you want to switch over full time. So even if they came back, you didn't sound like you'd want to go back at this point. You've made the transition and you're fully in the real estate side of it. Is that correct? You kind of had that realization, this is what you want to do for the time?
Yeah, 100%. And they did come back and ask us if we wanted to go back. Funny story, ExpressJet, which is United Express, the airline I was flying for. And they actually, after they shut down, they actually restarted the company they rebranded, they gave it a different name, but they recall all the pilots and they say, "Hey guys, we're starting up again, and everybody like please come, we need pilots." And I told them no. Right. I don't want to do it. And I know right now airlines they just can't find pilots. They're throwing money left and right at everybody just to come to fly. And it's not my, I think I'm very protective. I think the more you grow in business, you can become more and more protective of your time. Mm-hmm. And I think of the process that it will take me to go back to flying, and it's just, is a type rating, right? Like the 3 months of training, the being gone all those days from home. And I know that I see it like as a hump, right? I know very successful friends that I have in the aviation industry, like you as well, Bill, right? That are currently flying still, and they have other businesses and stuff. But many of them don't do the transition anymore, right? Like those initial 3 months of going to training. So I don't know, just thinking of those 3 months for me is a big hurdle. Plus, being on the bottom of the seniority list, right? I'm gonna be reserved. I'm gonna be commuting. So yeah, it's something that I'm like, nah, probably wouldn't do it. I will tell you what, I'll do it for free if I can do it whenever I want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's a lot too. Like you said, just the control of your time, right? I mean that becomes more. You realize how much more valuable it is because you can create, the lifestyle you want through your own work and your own, efforts, which is different. Like we said this before. Like aviation is an interesting business. It currently it's in a kind of a tailwind. There's a lot of people like they're throwing money. They're looking for pilots. There's a lot of good things happening in the pilot world, but you're still you only have, if you studied every night and you were, Chuck Yeager, you're still not going to get paid any more than where your seniority fits, right? I mean, so like I said, in other businesses, like I said, in real estate, you can differentiate yourself. You can put the effort in, you can make yourself, continue to scale up because you've built the skills, which is, I think is a neat mindset on that versus, you just kind of fit in the cog where it kind of moves through the aviation industry.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure you've seen this, Bill. Many times I'll come home frustrated and tell my wife, like, man, I just flew with this guy. Horrible. Like, procedures bad. This is bad. I had to be helping, like, all these other things just to be making sure that everything was safe. And I'm like, and I'm getting paid less than him, And so yeah, I mean, it's totally I 100% agree with what you said.
Yeah. Well, Satch, you actually brought up a good point that something we are very mindful of, and really we talk about as well. A little bit ago, you mentioned the idea that all of your income was dependent upon the airlines, and again, you sometimes stuff happens. 9/11 pandemic, and where the airlines have to shut down or close down, reduce the pilots, things like that, and the point there is that I think it actually leads us to kind of a little reminder to other people that, even if you have a steady 40-hour, whatever, 50-hour week W-2 job, you're still dependent upon somebody else for a paycheck. And that is, that's fine, but we would certainly encourage people to really develop other streams of income. Something else. And again, maybe it's a side hustle. You start at some point, and, hopefully that's obviously something you want to go after and you want to do because you enjoyed it. And again, many people have made that jump where they've transitioned and they've made that side passion, that side hustle into a career, into how they support their family, and which is what you've done. So again, our kind of, I guess, reminder to everybody is, again, think about that. Think about doing something for yourself to help build your wealth, help build your income on the side, help build your independence from, that W-2 job. Because again, unfortunately, the employer loyalty toward employees is long gone. There's no loyalty, period. So definitely, well done that you're able to make, make something like that happen. So yeah, excellent. So Satch, as you got started in the fix and flip and kind of that sort of side stuff with real estate, were there initially some obstacles you had to overcome?
Yeah, a lot of them. So I made every mistake on the book you can imagine, right? I can tell you all of the ways that you cannot do real estate. And so there's a lot of things that I had to learn that I just never knew because I never had like a sales position in my life or a sales job. So I had to learn sales. I had to learn how to hire, how to fire, building a company. What's interesting is that through being an airline pilot, airlines are like the most structured organizations that you can even think of, right? I know many companies that replicate the systems and procedures from airlines because we're so methodical, right? Mm-hmm. There's a reason why I don't even know the statistics, but like the crashes in the United States is like, I don't even know when was the last time that there was an actual fatal from like an airline crash, right? And that's because we have all these checklists, we have procedures, we have systems in place to ensure everything runs smoothly. And think about how many flights there are there, right? So I didn't do this smoothly or the right way the first couple of times, but I knew there was some relevance between copying SOPs and procedures and checklists that we had at the airlines and implement those in our company. So that is a pretty big obstacle, and it's a recurrent thing that keeps happening. So at our company, we have SOPs for everything, right? Everything that is laid out, there's an SOP for it. If somebody's gone and I need to step into their seat, I need to know how they do their job, and everything is, I should be able to find everything that they do somewhere, and I can just follow step by steps. And obviously it might take me a while, but I can get it done, right?
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the biggest learning curves to like mental. You know that it needs to be done, but actually implementing it is hard, and that takes some time, but it's definitely it's crucial. Learning sales was also a big thing. I had to learn a lot of books. Cold calling was definitely a big thing. That was a big hurdle. Getting on the phone and just randomly calling people that you never spoken to before was something that I overcame. And it's really a skill. That and sales is really a skill that will serve you along just for everything. Sales is everything. Not necessarily in like a Carl salesman perspective, but more in like the finding solutions for people. I approach sales more in like a solution-driven approach, right? And you really approach that with like a servant mentality to try to help people. If you have a good heart and good intention, you can really persuade people to take action on what's best for them.
Right. Nice. Yeah, I think like you stressed there, I think a lot of that's like the education aspect of that, right? Too. You're not door to door, and they leave with a vacuum cleaner they didn't want. It was a kind of a zero sum game when they interact with you. You educate them, and they get passive income. So they're everybody kind of everybody wins together on that. But it's part of more of an educational versus what you're saying, like the car salesman that's just pure sales. He kind of everybody has that kind of thing in their mind what that is versus reality what you do.
Yeah.
So as you transition there, what was one of your first victories that in real estate that made you realize you're on the right path and this is something you can actually make a career out of?
It's funny. It's my very, very first deal. That was what clicked. Prior to that, I had never, ever made money doing something that was not trading my time for money. Or something that someone else gave me a task to do, and I accomplished the task and I got paid directly for it, right? This was me going out on my own from reading a book saying that you can find a deal and you can sell it to someone else. And I just went and did it, right? And I've made multiples of a check bigger than this size, but that deal was $10,000. And that was more meaningful than any other deal I've ever done, right? And because to me it was a proof of concept that I can go out and create something out of nothing, right? There was no job laid out. There was nobody told me to go do X, Y, Z. I just went and did something that I thought was the right way. And when I got that check for $10,000, that just pushed me even 10x to like, okay, this is the way I got to go. I got to keep doing this. If I did it once, I can replicate it and I can keep doing it. Nice. And that to me was the moment. I honestly, that night, I still remember that night laying in bed thinking about it. Like it just kept circling. It was very impressive to me to have done that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, absolutely.
So was that idea in your head circling until you had clearance to land?
Yeah,
holding pattern.
They got a holding pattern.
Holding pattern. Good deal. So Satch, as you've kind of changed what you do, you're now in the real estate field doing lots of different things. Is there a funny story that you can share that happened to you since you've kind of made that transition?
In the real estate, let me think about this.
So 31 employees, there's got to be something.
I'll tell you. I don't know if it's funny, but I'll tell you what's interesting. We have some guys that have left our company. We hired these people, right, and we thought they were the best. And hiring is probably one of the toughest parts that we also face in business, right? And we go through this very strenuous process of like filtering out and screening out people that we don't want to hire, to finally get to the few select ones that fit the mold of what we're looking for. And finally, out of all those, we hire the one person that we think is the best fit. And we hire them. And then finally, we hired this guy. We thought he will crush it, right? He was excellent salesperson. He was excellent on the phone, talking to people. And I mean, I love this guy. And all of a sudden one day he just says, "Hey, my dad is sick in the hospital. I got to go." Okay. Never heard back from him again. And then we're like so stunned, like, well, what happened, right? And I'll reach out to him. And I'm like, "Hey, man, I hope everything is good with your dad. Just let us know if there's anything you need from us." Crickets. And then second person does that to us. We hire another person. Same thing. Killer on the phone. Great person, and they do the same thing to us. And I mean, this is nowhere near funny, right? I know you asked for a funny story, but it's just like I kept seeing this trend, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just people that want to work. Maybe I don't have the right. Still don't have the nick for hiring the right person, right? But just after seeing this 2 times, I'm like, man, what's going on with people? And everybody's out there saying, right, they can find good people. So but what's funny is that the second person told me the same story. Like about a week into she working with us, she's like, "Hey, my dad is sick in the hospital." Same exact story. And I was like, all right, she's not coming back. Sure enough, she never came back. I told my partner, I was like, dude, whenever I hear that my dad is sick in the hospital, I'm like, that's like the resignation letter right there. And so it was funny that it happened again, now same story, like nothing different. I was like, okay, oh, here she goes.
That's crazy. Again, we've talked about this as well. I don't know where people are working. We're supposed to be at a super low unemployment level. But there's got to be people that are just, I don't know how people are making money. Right. Nobody can seem to find enough people, and we had plenty of employees before, so where'd they all go?
Right.
They say a lot of the employment numbers, I think, are skewed too, for the fact that if you have, because now if inflation and whatnot, you have to pick up a side job, a second job. Well, that counts as 2 jobs. It's still one person, but now you have 2 jobs. So the employment number, it's still X number of people, but it's we print higher to make it look like it's more robust than I think it actually truly is. Because if that one person gets sick, then 2 jobs away or 3 jobs away, how many ever jobs they had versus just a 1-to-1 ratio, what it looks like it's supposed to indicate. So yeah, I think there's some fluff in that as well.
Yeah.
Well, where are you today on your journey? You said you've transitioned from obviously the aviation. You still have the fix and flex business, and then do some private equity placement at this point. Kind of where are you now in that, and where are you? How are you expanding that and your plans for that?
Yeah, great question. One of my big dreams after this is to grow the private equity arm and eventually start acquiring and selling businesses. Apartments. I'm very focused on apartment complexes, value add apartment complexes in Arizona, Texas, and Florida. And I want to keep growing in that space and learn more and more about successfully. I'm right now partnering with very excellent top operators in the country, right? That execute on these business plans and these apartment complexes. And they do this so often that I want to keep growing in the private equity space, learning how to place money in like winning assets like this, and eventually take all this knowledge and take it to businesses. So that's my end goal. I look after companies like Blackstone and Bridgewater and all of them that are in this private equity space. And I don't know if you've ever read this book. It's called What It Takes, from Steven Schwarzman. And I mean, that to me was an extremely motivating book to see. Whenever I thought of a private equity firm, I just thought that it was people that already were wealthy and they came in with a lot of money to do something that as big as like the Carlyle Group, right? Or someone or like somebody like that. But then if you read Steven Schwarzman's book, you realize that it was just a simple guy, right? And his first couple of pages, he tells you, "Hey, man, I have nothing special. Like I never even wrote about autobiography. I didn't want to write about me because I don't feel like I'm worthy of writing something about me." And it just breaks everything down. I started with like $200,000, right? Starting the business with his partner, and that to me was like, wow, if they can do it, I can do it. So that's my end goal right there.
Right.
Nice.
Well, and Richard and I, they both read that book, I think, as well. And one thing I remember taking away from, even as successful as he was, when they left him and his the other number one partner there to do Blackstone, they talked about, meetings that they'd be left standing in the rain. Again, when you think you have a setback, people super successful track records had gone through the same thing even after that point, because they went out on their own. But yeah, I found that pretty amazing. People would call them in and they'd pitch their fund and they go, "Oh, we just wanted to meet you guys. We don't ever invest in the first fund." I mean, just, wasting their time and everything. It was just, but again, they didn't give up, right? They just continued to push forward and they eventually got traction and built a massive empire out of it. Yeah. It was a great book. I totally agree.
Yeah, it was a great book. So definitely. So Satch, as you think about what you do, maybe it's personally, maybe it's through one of your businesses, is there anything you do to give back to others that you can share, talk about?
Yeah. So this is very, I guess, not even related to real estate, but we do, as far as pets, animals go, my wife is very passionate about fostering dogs and cats and all sorts of animals. We will have an even bigger zoo of animals in our house if it wasn't because I have to put a limit somehow. But that's something that we do for to give back. As far as there's a lot of flips that we do that you have no idea how many people just leave their dogs and cats in the house. And so we will take them, and obviously this are animals that are not very well taken care of. So we'll take them through the process of getting them cleaned up and getting them healthy, and then find them a home for them. In fact, we just got a home back from somebody that we found a home for them, and then they were not good persons. We got it back, and so we're looking for someone else. That's one way that we like to give back. We try to give back via fostering dogs and finding a good home for them, and cats as well. And another way is through, I don't have a coaching course. I don't do any education or anything like that, but I do have a lot of friends that reach out to me, and I obviously give them advice for free, right? Even though I'm still learning, there's already a lot of obstacles that I overcame, and I can give advice to people on like what not to do, or at least share my experience on what I've done so far. And I do have quite a bit of friends and people just reach out to me on social media, and I'm always happy to help any way I can. I was a flight instructor. I don't know, Bill, if you were, but I was a flight instructor for many, many years. So there's still something in me that likes to teach and give back that way.
The fundamentals of instruction. Yeah. I did as well. Several years. That's great. Yeah. I was just was there something you recently implemented in your business that's helped you scale here?
I'll say the operations person was something that we just recently did, and it was prior to putting the operations person in place. We have very, very luckily we have aside from all the other people that I told you that left the company, we have pretty good team members in our company that are very responsible, and they can do their job and execute very well. Right, they're very experienced. And even though my partner and I were still on a day-to-day operations, we were not really doing much, other than every once in a while we'll step in to like put out a fire from some problem that arose, right? But we grew to the point that now it was not so much about the fires, it was about managing the entire team, making sure that everything was always running smoothly. So we put that operations person in place, and that's like the ultimate, to me, that was the ultimate piece of the puzzle that we put in there. And now it's like, we don't have an official role in the company, right? We're just simply advisors, as guess if you can think about it that way, right? So that to me was putting the cherry on top of the cake, right?
That's excellent. Yeah. And it allows you to spend, your time on the business side of it, to your best use, right? New kind of the strategy and the overall outlook for the company, what your goals are. I assume you set those and hand those down to the operation department and go from there.
Yeah.
But always, the highest and best use of your time versus we were talking about before, you being stuck in your business, doing all the day-to-day stuff, and you don't really have time to focus on growing it or, the real plans you have for it. But that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I heard, it was somebody else's podcast, and I he was comparing the hustler versus the CEO, right? And he was saying the sometimes you need to kill the hustler to become the CEO, because I think sometimes we get stuck with wanting to do that mentality that nobody can do it better than us, or nobody can do it as quickly and as efficient as us. But that's just your hustler mentality trying to take over and not allowing the CEO to flourish and really make good decisions for the company moving forward, right? So like, it's got a little bit painful to have to let go at first, because you think nobody will do it as good as you can. But the reality is that, like, I don't have any special skill that I don't think that nobody else has, I may have some unique skills for myself, but I think there's more people that also have those skills, maybe even better, right? So once you let go of that and really get yourself out of the way, I think things start looking better.
Yeah. And I guess another important thing with that was, surround yourself with A players, right? Get the best team members in there that can, do into each segment of the job better than maybe you could. It was their specialty in whichever part it is. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. And like, I'm not, I think it's a very important skill to be able to identify what you're not good at. And so that you know what to look for in someone else, right? And I can quickly identify, as soon as our operations person, I know like all of the things that she's good at, and I'm like, man, I'm very bad at those things, right? But I know that she's awesome and she's gonna crush it, right?
Right, absolutely.
That's good. So Satch, what advice would you share with somebody who's considering making a path change?
Great question. I say there's a lot of people that need this, right? There's a lot of people that need to take action and they don't. And in my opinion is two things. One, figure out what is it that you want to do. A lot of people go around giving advice, but that advice is maybe only fits certain people. So like, really figure out what is it that you want for you in your life, and then find a mentor that is doing that. Once there's a lot of vague mentoring advice, there's a lot of not good advice. So first, once you really know what you want to do that, and then you find a mentor that is doing that, it will save you a lot of time, and it will save you a lot of money as well. It may seem like I get mentors for everything. This year, I probably spent about $35,000 just in like mentorship, masterminds, paying someone for your time. Like, hey, can I pay you? Can I pay you for your time? I just need 30 minutes. I'll pay you whatever you want. Give me a price. I'll pay it. And so that to me is very valuable. And when you come from a W-2 world, paying that kind of money just seems kind of crazy. But once you start realizing how much your time is valuable, I don't want to spend a lot of time making mistakes. I want to know what the right way of doing it is right away. I'd rather pay for you to tell me that, and I go and execute and do it right, and I'll be 10 steps ahead in the shortest amount of time. So that's my advice. Seek what you want, find out what you want to do, and seek good mentoring.
Nice. Yeah, there's an expression we really like to refer to that says, learn from your mistakes. Well, I'd rather learn from the mistakes made by others. Yep. And therefore you can kind of accelerate forward and build on that. So yeah, very nice.
Yeah. Well, so what's the best way for listeners to reach out and learn more about what you're up to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very active on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, any of those that you're on. You can find me there. Since my name is kind of unique, I don't have any special points, digits, underscore, or anything like that, right? Just Satch Bernhardt, you'll find me in any of them. I have a website as well, bernhardtcapital.net. I have a great ebook where I lay out, if anybody's interested in like how to invest in the type of deals that we invest. I created a blueprint that shows everything that you need to know about real estate syndications in that sense. So if you go to bernhardtcapital.net/ebook, it's completely free. I pour a lot of work into it. So I hope is of a lot of value to people.
That's great. Yeah, we'll add those show notes or notes below in the show notes so they can have your contact information. We'll really want to appreciate your time today and being on the Road Less Traveled show. Enjoyed the conversation and wish you continued success.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Richard. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thanks, Satch, for being on. We'd like to also thank our listeners. Please continue to give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great content like today's show with Satch Bernhardt. And we'd also like to point out a couple things Park Capital Partners has going on. First, we have the Park Capital Value Add Fund, which is a 506c fund open to accredited investors. And then next, we also have the Park Capital Partners Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that we created as a way that we give back. The way that works very quickly is that Park Capital Partners funds the operations of that foundation. So all the money donated to the foundation goes to do its best work, which is to help others. Second, we donate personally. Third, we donate corporately. And then finally, when investors invest with us, we make a donation to a pre-selected list of 15 different charities that the investors can have a donation go to as a way to feel good about making not only an investment to make money, but also helping somebody else. And including one of those charities is the ASPCA. So we certainly, again, thank you for being on, Satch. Please certainly, folks, reach out to Bill and myself. ParkCapitalPartnersLLC.com is our website. We're happy to have a conversation with any investor out there or any folks. And again, we are one of the big things we do as well is to just share ideas and guidance, since a lot of people helped us out when we were getting started. So certainly please reach out. And remember, folks, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.